which made this term famous would be via K. Williams. So I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but if you still are interested, you can research on Scarlett O study. So that study is something that coins a strong background for ostracism in psychology. Are you all following?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you want to note, it would be Scarlett O study, okay? All right, so we have the PPT here. Can we move to first slide, Kirtana? All right, so you all can see the PPT properly?
Yes.
Great. So we'll start with a little introduction, which is kind of overview of what I'm going to cover in the webinar. So starting with, we will understand ostracism and inclusivity. So which we have already started looking on, right? I've already started a base with the terms, right? Then next would be, we'll be identifying general causes and effects of ostracism and how to, cope with them, or what you can do as a psychologist, or what you can do as a person who is not from a psychology background if you're facing, let's say, ostracism. Then we will understand emotional and psychological attributes to ostracism. Okay. Then moving forward, we will learn different, or let's say, effective strategies onto how ostracism can be tackled at workplaces. Then I'll move to few case studies, which are verbatums from real life interactions. Then lastly, if anybody from here would like to share their story about being ostracized, they can do that. So clear about the outline of the webinar?
Yes.
All right, great. Can we move to the next slide, Kirtana? Perfect. So I'm not going to read everything here. Are we going to share PPTs with people who are joining, Kirtana? All right, so that they can read things, because I cannot read every line, right? Great. So if I have an overview of ostracism at work, it is very basic. So if you go back to your school days, let's say, you might have faced ostracism, but you might not know कि इसको ostracism बोलते हैं. So for example, there was a cool kids group, you were not included in that. So the feeling that you might have had is ostracism. The effect that was on you because you were not included, that was ostracism. So ostracism is something that happens when you have lack of inclusion. So school is also a setup, social setup. School is an organization for the owners of the school, correct? You were like at a consumer's end at school, but school is an organization. College is an organization. Similarly, workplace is an organization, a social setting. So we draw a lot from social psychology when it comes to IO psychology. So if I talk about background to ostracism and how we link it to psychology, there is a lot to do with belongingness needs. And when I say belongingness needs, immediately what clicks in our minds? Maslow. People who have studied psychology, उनके लिए. So belongingness, inclusivity, ये दोनों नहीं होने से जो होता है, that is ostracism. Clear about what is ostracism?
Yep.
All right. So can we move to the next slide? Okay. So this is again a little introduction about the same. So what happens in the organization, and how can you be ostracized, and then why we look at it in industry and organizational psychology, or why should we look at it in the first place? So when we talk about IO psychology, in organizations, we see research. There are a lot of researches that revolve around harassment, that revolve around bullying, team culture, leadership. But the major essence to it is also ostracism, which is inclusion. And these days it's very trending. Even if you talk about the Western culture, if you talk about USA and UK, even researchers out there are working a lot on DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So these three terms are very much related to ostracism. So absence of diversity, equity, and inclusion would lead to ostracism, which is why this webinar and which is why this topic, because eventually what will play a major role in industrial and organizational psychology would be how to tackle with underlying factors and not just the overt reactions that we get. So when I say this, what do I mean? For example, you don't see, we focus a lot on output as a corporate line altogether. We focus a lot on output. So your targets are, let's say, 10 per week. So you're not able to achieve 10 is what the focus is. Why you are not able to achieve 10 is not the focus. So that would be the underlying factor that you need to work on going forward to have a better corporate culture or positive workplace environment. And ostracism is one of the key factors that you need to eliminate in order to reach that positive workplace culture zone. All right, so can we move to next slide? Any questions till now, like anything you want me to answer about ostracism?
No, thank you.
Welcome. All right, thank you for answering. So now again, if you want, you can read. I've put in the exact definitions and from where ostracism comes in the slides, so that you have an idea theoretically as well. Where does this term come from? Okay, and I already told you all it comes from Greek origins, ancient Greece, which is a political phenomena basically, wherein you disregard a person from a group. Okay, so yeah, we don't have to read this slide much, Kirtana. We can move forward. All right, so let's move on to potential causes of workplace ostracism. So, what can be causes of workplace ostracism? Now that we know what is ostracism. So, first would be people walk away when you approach them. Very common thing that you might see. So, let's say if you don't like someone, or I would say that like not liking is a very strong word. So we just get those vibes, right? Ki no, मेरा इस इंसान से शायद नहीं बनेगा. So at workplace also, what you tend to do is if that person is coming your way, you might just not, look interested, or the other way around. You can be that person जिसको देख के लोग चले जाते हैं, और you can be the person जो दूसरों को देख के चले जाता है. So it goes both ways. This is the cause of ostracism. So you might not feel that ये बहुत बड़ी बात है, but trust me, a very live example I would give you, recent example. There's this person at workplace who walks by, says hi to the person next to the victim and not to the victim. Just walks by. How does this affect performance? It does, because you are creating a toxic environment and you are making that victim feel that they are not, let's say, needed or important. Okay. Second can be no one sits next to you. Again, go back to school. Let's take school as an example. You might have seen few kids जिनके साथ किसी को नहीं बैठना होता. So you had 100 reasons to not sit with that particular person, but nobody ever thought how would that person feel if nobody's sitting with them. Which is why what teachers used to do to, contradict this behavior is they used to arrange sitting on their own. So now it makes a lot more sense why teachers used to force you to sit with a particular person, because they didn't want a group of people to be ostracized. It was a way to tackle it. But still, if you see growing up in higher classes, we still used to do that. Even I did that intentionally or unintentionally. I never sat with a couple of people. I don't know what was in my head, but I never sat with them. But this is what is ostracism. I was ostracizing that person. So this is silent bully. You may not bully them directly, but you're doing that exactly. So at workplace even, you will, I don't know how many people here are actually working in corporate setups, but even in workplace, we have preferences when it comes to sitting arrangement. You would want to sit with people who you are close with, or you would want to make your own group within a team itself. So you are a team, but then you will have another group within your team and you will prefer sitting with them. So what happens is, let's say a new person walks in your team. and you are not really friendly with them. So initially what they will feel is they are not part of the team. They are not part of the group. So you are ostracizing them. Okay, and it might lead to productivity issues or toxic culture later on. So got the sitting वाला point, it is similar, like जैसे स्कूल में होता था, ट्रस्ट में कॉर्पोरेट्स में भी वैसा ही होता है सिटिंग अरेंजमेंट वाइज अगर आप पूछो तो. बट जो विक्टिम होता है इसका, उनके लिए इट बिकम्स रियली डिफिकल्ट टू कोप एंड दे डोंट एक्चुअली नो व्हाई दे आर बीइंग ट्रीटेड लाइक दैट. ऑलराइट, then next would be people do not look at you. There are times so you don't look at everybody in your team, or you just make faces, maybe like, oh, this person came. So this might be very basic for you, like okay, what ye thodi bullying hota hai, but this is again a silent bully. You are excluding them by not making an eye contact or not looking at them while talking to them. So let's say you're talking to me, suppose I'm talking to you all, and if I'm looking there and talking to you all, how will you all feel? You will feel that I'm not attending you people, whereas I'm the host, like let's. So do you understand the feeling how it might be? That is how looks also play a very important role. And how you're looking also is a very important thing again. There are various types of looks that you give each other, right? Imagine you don't imagine a person who you don't like, how would you look at them while talking to them? And they will understand. That is with the look. Then we have people do not talk to you. This happens all the time. Even in my team at work, there are few people जिनसे कोई बात नहीं करता. They come, they go, and they are unnoticed the entire day. Whereas there is a set of people who are very active. They talk to each other, they ask each other how was your day and all that. But few set of people go unnoticed. So within a team, two people are being noticed extensively, and two people are not even getting noticed. So how will the people who are not getting noticed feel? Can anyone tell me, like, what might come in their mind? Nobody? All right. So what would happen is they would start feeling that maybe nobody likes me in the team. Maybe I'm not meant to be in this team. Maybe I'm not looking good. Maybe I have not worn good clothes. That's why people are not looking at me. Maybe people don't like to talk to me because I am not very good at communication. Self doubt. So if somebody is going into self doubt because of you, intentionally or unintentionally, what is going to happen at work? Ultimately, your team's productivity is going to take a hit. So, when you're working as a team, it's not about who you like and who you don't like. You have to always think about your work and how they are at the. If you're judging somebody on the basis of their work in itself, only work, then okay. But if you're bringing in your personal judgments and ostracizing someone intentionally or unintentionally, that will affect you at a minor level, but your team at a major level. So your team culture is becoming toxic if you're ostracizing someone. Then coming to,
Ultimately, excuse me, ma'am,
yes,
Sirisha, ma'am. Ultimately, it will harm the working culture. It will
yes,
pollute the working atmosphere, which needs to be healthy for any organization to excel.
exactly. Very well said. And also imagine if I'm thinking the entire day, even let's say 10 minutes ke liye, I'm thinking ki nobody likes me, nobody wants me, I'm not part of team. So 10 minutes per day, let's say. So how much time is getting impacted in a week, then in a month, then in 2 months, then in a year. So that's how we make it toxic eventually. And groupism takes place. And if you have groups within a team itself, then I don't think that team is a healthy team. So ostracism is the basic line that you need to, not cross. Like you have to have boundaries within team, and who can take charge of it, starting with your leader. Leadership is a very important aspect when we talk about ostracism, when we talk about inclusion, or let's say diversity. Like if you have diversity in the team, you need to really draw boundaries, and you have to make sure that nobody is being ostracized in your team. Okay, then we have, you are excluded from conversations. Very common. I think most common out of the above mentioned factors is this last one, which is you're excluded from conversations. So suddenly you're talking something, and suddenly somebody walks by and you stop talking. Okay, or you don't, suppose let's say you're planning a team outing, for example. Few people might not even come to your mind, but still they are in your team. And let's say they get to know that my team has gone out without even talking to me about it. So these things happen, and eventually what these people start feeling is, we need to get out of this team as soon as possible, or they will start back bitching about your team to other teams, somebody who talks to them, or they might as well directly go to HR and complain about the team environment. So यहाँ पे बहुत सारे steps skip हो जाएंगे. You didn't even get a chance to work on autism in your team because you were absent as a leader. Again, leadership comes into the picture here. Can we change his life? So these were just some potential causes. There are so many other causes. Like if we start with discrimination, discrimination is also one of the major causes. Let's say linguistic racism based on language. If somebody doesn't speak good English, you might just make fun of them. It might sound funny. Mother tongue influence is one of the things that is made fun of. So if somebody is speaking with mother tongue influence, you might just, make fun of them or enact their accent. So which might look or sound funny at the first place for you, but how do you know that that person is taking it? Even if I'm taking it as a joke, you should not do that, because you never know when will you cross the boundary, intentionally or unintentionally. Then dressing sense पे we randomly comment, or we say a few things as a joke which might not be taken as a joke. You never know who takes how. And if you see these days, workplaces have a lot of uh, you know attention, or they play a lot of what to say, importance. They give a lot of importance to diversity and inclusion and culture related trainings also, because you don't know when people might get offended. Then random comments on weight, random comments on color, random comments on what, even a simple line like, let's say you were on a leave for 10 days, you come back and somebody says, "हो तो कितनी मोटी हो गई है." So that might be like, okay, but एक बार बोल दिया, okay, but what people tend to do is, it is normal. Like we tend to take it as a joke, or we disguise bullying into sarcasm and jokes. So one time it's okay, two times it's okay, like you think like that, but eventually आपको आदत हो जाएगी, आप एक name tag दे दोगे उस person को, and then you start calling them by that name. So we don't need this at work, because large scale mein this has a lot of impact. Okay, so now why should it matter to organizations? So I was already talking about it. Why should it matter? Because it will eventually affect your productivity as an organization. Let's say one person being ostracized in one team, and you have 10 teams, which means 10 people are being ostracized as an organization if you look at it. So 10 people being ostracized, which means 10 people ki productivity will take a toll. Is it a fair deal for an organization? Not at all, right? So that is why it should matter in organizations, and that is why it should be taken seriously, because you never know who might get offended from. And I can write it on a stamp paper and give you that no team can be perfect, but if addressed properly, at least we can eliminate 6 out of 10 causes which lead to ostracism, if not all 10. So that is why it should matter. Can we go to the next slide? All right, now ostracism कहने में जितना आसान और समझने में जितना easy है, it is also very easy to disguise this as a phenomenon. Why is because I might call you by a name and say that, oh, sorry, I didn't know it would hurt you. I didn't say it intentionally. ये बोल के you become guilt free. We did that many times. Go back, look at your own tenure with an organization, or go back to your school days or college days. Kitne baar you said something to someone and then you said, oh, sorry, I didn't know it would hurt you. I didn't do that intentionally. But can this undo the effect that your comment had on them at the first place?
Never.
Exactly. So that is why this is very thin. There is a very thin line between sarcasm, joke, and exclusion altogether. You don't realize when you cross it, but the person who faces it realizes it the moment you say something. And it might be like, it's a choti si baat hai, you're overthinking. These are also some lines that disguise ostracism, and commonly, see, I've mentioned yahan pe 3-4 cheezein. Oh, you should have said, I didn't realize you wanted to come for coffee. Suppose I didn't ask you as a team member, you asked. अगर मैं आपसे पूछूं तो you have some favorite people in your team जिनको आप हमेशा लंच के लिए पूछते हो, कॉफी के लिए पूछते हो, चाय के लिए पूछते हो. But you might not ask one person, कभी नहीं पूछा होगा जिसको. And if they felt bad, and if it occurs to you that this person felt bad, what will you say? Oh, I didn't know you wanted to come with us. But you are in a team. If you're asking 2 people, ask everybody if they are sitting nearby. If not, don't ask in front of them. दूसरों से. So, and I think you all have been part of groups within a group. Have you all? Like team में ही groups बना लेते हैं many people. Or class
Very
में,
true.
let's say. Yeah. So
Very
see,
true.
exactly. And this is what distinguishes school and colleges from workplaces. In school and college, you had like 40-50 people, or let's say 30 minimum in a class. So it is not possible to have 30 people together. But at workplace, in a team, there are 10 to 15 people, or to max 20. And you are one team, और उसी team में अगर आप 3 groups और बना लोगे, so where is teamwork? You cannot, then your leader is not doing the job right.
It's mockery.
Exactly. And then you expect productivity, you expect numbers. So if you're not working as a team, how will you achieve your goal? And also, I'll give you more examples of ostracism, live examples, which happen in workplaces. So for example, if Kirtana is my colleague and a friend as well, and she needs a leave, let's say on Friday, and I have an approved leave on Friday, but I don't need it as well. I will sacrifice it for her. I'll ask her to swap it with me. But if somebody else asks me, I would be like, no, 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 I have important work. So what am I doing here? Am I being truthful to my teammates? No. Because I don't feel belongingness with everybody. I don't feel belongingness with my team at the first place. Team में सिर्फ 2 लोगों से if I feel belongingness, then I'm not 100% part of the team. And you don't have to love or like everybody in your team, but it's my team. I belong here. ये वाली feeling you should have. At professional level, you should have that understanding. And often what we do is we connect personally. We indulge into friendships. I wouldn't say relationships. Not everybody can be your spouse or romantic partner, but friendship is very common when it comes to teams. If you're friends with somebody, you just go along with them, along with, like, for your entire tenure, you might as well be close with them. But where is your team wala spirit? And you will see 2 people in the team talking, or gossiping about other 2 people in the team behind their backs. This is very common. Are you actually a team? Again, a question mark. And this all goes to your leader. It's their job to take care of the team culture. So again, leadership comes into picture. Then like we use terms also like I didn't mean anything by it. So let's say if I say कि कुछ भी मैंने comment pass कर दिया and then I will be like, oh sorry, I didn't mean it. But you said that, right? Then how can you say that I didn't mean it? So these are some terms that are used to be guilt free and to disguise your you know, not intention, I would say, but comments that you pass or your behavior. But it has already affected the victim. You should know that. Okay. Can we go to the next slide? So what are the negative impacts that ostracism can have or non-inclusion can have on people at work? So we are talking about workplace perspective. So first is negative feelings at work. Just work, yes. Somebody raises their hand. Narendra, you want to say something? Can't hear. Is he speaking? No, you're not.
He is writing in the chat box.
Okay, so we'll take his query when he writes it down. So when I say negative feelings at work, it can start with feeling bad on day one, feeling even more bad on day two, then the prolonged sadness. And if you are from psychology background, you can very well answer what does prolonged sadness do to you. You can be a victim of stress, anxiety, and if it is prolonged for a very long time, like for 3 months, 6 months, a year, you might even slip into depression because of it. Because you're being sad for the very same reason for a very long time without confronting it, without talking about it, or without addressing it at the first place. So you start suppressing, or you might even start believing that you are like that. So this is something which is negative feelings at work, which will definitely impact your productivity at work, your bonding with your team, and then your self-esteem and self-efficacy. These things will get impacted. Can you read the thing for me, Ketan? What did he write?
Yeah, so the question is the person says that they have a problem of saying things that they don't mean and end up offending people. I realize my behavior in hindsight, but needs input to curb my behavior.
Okay. So yeah, see, I would say that it has already started with acceptance. Now that you accepted that you are indulged in such behavior, you will start seeing change yourself. Because now you know that intentionally or unintentionally you're hurting someone. So acceptance is the key. And I would say that you have already uh, started it, and it's a very big thing to do that. Accepting that you are doing wrong is the first and the most important step towards curving the ostracism as a ostracizer. Other
Your
than that,
session is successful. Your session is successful.
thank you, thank you. All right. So yeah, so that is what I was saying. Negative feelings at work. So this should be addressed. यहाँ पे आता है importance of IO psychologist at workplace. So not everybody knows the importance of ostracism and inclusion. So your leader might not even feel important to address these issues. They won't even talk to you about these things on a daily basis because they don't know the importance. If you have IO psychologists, they would conduct sessions, they would conduct surveys and one-on-ones to understand how team culture is and then build accordingly. So This is one thing. Or you can train your leaders on importance of but I don't think, see, trainings are there in every company, every organization. No matter how much you train, it's ultimately what you do as a leader. Leadership cannot be taught, is what I strongly feel. It has to come within. You can be a great manager, but you will be a good leader only when you understand that it is about interdependence and not about bossing. What did he write? Can you read that for me? I cannot. All right, great. So then second impact can be poor job attitudes. So job attitudes again, can we use psychometric tool to avoid? Yes, definitely. Like before promotion, like there is this action or this thing called pre-promotion counseling, which is not very much in running in India. But if you have pre-promotional counseling, you can definitely use psychometric tests to prevent promoting people who are not sensitive towards inclusion and diversity. Perfect. So yeah, poor job attitudes. So what will happen is people will start becoming less committed to their work if they are ostracized. Because I don't feel belongingness in the team, do you think I will perform to my utmost abilities? No, right? And the question here is why should I? ये वाला aspect आ जाता है team members में. मैं क्यों करूं? मैं कितना भी कर लूं, it doesn't matter. Nobody likes me anyway. This happens. You will see. And you will, I don't think कि कोई भी disagree करेगा इस बात से कि at some point you start feeling like this कि why should I? And the moment why comes in a team, you're not a team. And it also impacts OCB. OCB is organizational citizenship behavior, wherein you go extra mile to uh, work for your team, or you pitch in creativity, or you pitch in as a savior, let's say, if your team needs you. अगर आप ostracized हो तो आप क्यों अपनी टीम के लिए एक्स्ट्रा माइल जाओगे? You will not. So you are basically deteriorating मतलब attitude, and you're also in a way impacting the victim's job satisfaction. Not in a way, directly. If you want, you can go and do a literature review on links between ostracism and job satisfaction. The correlation would be positive is what I assume. I'm an HR manager for 1,000 plus people. I'll read it and answer it once we are done with negative impacts, okay? All right, so moving towards low engagement. So now engagement. So employee engagement is way more than fun Fridays and meditation sessions and yoga sessions. Employee engagement is something that has to be ongoing. It cannot be just on Fridays. What about rest of the 4 days? Do you not want your employees to be engaged on Monday to Thursday? Just Friday ही हम अगर engagement activities करेंगे तो first 4 days का क्या फिर? This is major mistake that employers make, that they try to engage employees weekly once, monthly once, quarterly twice, but it doesn't work that way. There is a major misconception about employee engagement in many organizations. It's not activities. Engagement is not activities. Engagement is how much your employee feels engaged with the work that they do or with the team that they are part of, or the organization at the first place. So if you do a Fun Friday activity, can you eliminate ostracism? In fact, being honest, अगर Fun Friday activity हो रहा है तो उसमें भी you will not include the person जो आपको पसंद नहीं है. So you are increasing ostracism. You are not eliminating it by doing such engagement activities. So what you need here is you have to undermine or eliminate the motivation of ostracism to engage employees. What motivates your teammates to ostracize someone? Do they think that they are superior? If yes, why do they think they are superior? और या तो फिर आपने at the first place teams ही गलत बनाई है. राइट, सो ये तो वही वाली बात होगी कि सपोज इमेजिन स्कूल में ए सेक्शन में सब होशियार बच्चे, बी में मीडियम एंड सी में गधे. सो यहाँ पे सिस्टम ही ऑस्ट्रेसाइज कर रहा है, यहाँ पे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की गलती है. So to eliminate motives, you need to inspect on where is ostracism starting from. Is it organization? Is it the leader? Or is it the team members? Then you will be able to drive engagement better. Because I will tell you, I've been part of some activities and engagement activities wherein some people were not included and some people were repeatedly included every week in those activities. So what was happening here? I didn't see any impact of those engagement activities. Because it was not engaging people, it was engaging a group of people, just a group. Yes, in a way it does. It is also ostracizing, but it goes under that zone, unintentional. We were doing it to increase the motivation. And it, see, it again depends. So we'll come there, like how these things also impact. But before that, our next point is turnover. So see, what will happen is if I am being ostracized continuously, eventually I might leave the job or I might just work for sake of working. Aao jao, salary low, aao jao, salary low. So either you have an unengaged employee or they quit. As a result of which you might just keep wondering why you have a lot of attrition. But the answer lies in the way your employees are treated. So turnover impact. You will have attrition which will affect your productivity. Then coming to poor job performance, major hit of ostracism, the person will not perform well because the culture becomes toxic. And ये फीलिंग हमें बहुत अच्छे से पता है. Imagine आप bully हुए हो कभी स्कूल में, जो भी bully हुआ होगा स्कूल में, they will understand. Did you feel like waking up and going to school? Because those flashes would come. If I go to school, people will comment on me. People will say this, people will say that. In return, आप इसी डर में काफी दिन निकाल देते थे. But still, you were forced to get up, get ready, and go to school. That feeling, imagine. As an adult, if you are dealing with it. As a kid, you still didn't understand. And you might not have had self-doubt उतना ज़्यादा जितना as an adult आपको होगा. So you are going to office in self-doubt. You are sitting for 8 hours. You spend most of your time at work, even more than what you do at house. वहाँ भी अगर आप self-doubt में हो, so how will you perform to your best potential? Then last thing that I've mentioned is undermining diversity, equity, and inclusion. So ostracism will straightly, directly impact on your DEI initiatives. So let's say because you want a diverse culture, because you want to incorporate diversity, आप different backgrounds से people hire कर रहे हो. But what is the use if the people in your organization are bullying them for their diversity? So let's say you hire other state people, okay? Who are, suppose I am in Maharashtra, okay? If I am from Pune, okay? Is ostracism the opposite of? Yes, it is opposite of inclusion. So let's say I'm non-Maharashtrian, I joined a company and my teammates constantly talk in Marathi. I don't understand. They are not intentionally doing it. But I am feeling ostracized. So because my company believes in diversity, they hired non-Maharashtrians as well. But what's happening in the team? So diversity cannot be just an outlook. It has to be incorporated within as well. Like you need to train your team members as well, not just the leaders. Then you have equity. Equity impact kaise hoti hai? See, what is equity? It's not equality. Don't confuse equity with equality. Equity is जो चीज डिजर्व करता है उसे वो मिले regardless of their caste, race, gender, age. So if you're performing well, you will get incentive. If you're not performing well, you will not get incentive. That is equity. What is equality? Male and female would get equal pay. or they will be treated equally. That is equality. So why ostracism takes a toll on equity is because if I'm a non-Maharashtrian, let's say, and I perform really well, and my Maharashtrian friends don't perform that well, but they're Maharashtrians. So अगर उनके साथ थोड़ी भी कोई चीज अच्छी होगी, what will I feel? Because they are Maharashtrians, they are being favored, which might not be the reality. But because I am being ostracized unintentionally, मैं हर चीज उसी से link करूंगी. So eventually you're building a very toxic culture which you don't need in organizations. So got how negatively ostracism can be at work. And also another thing is इसमें sometimes there are positive outcomes, but we cannot take a bet on the positive outcomes and let ostracism flow in the organization. What can be positive outcomes is there are some people who react in a different manner to ostracism. For example, if you bully me for something, I will be like, अब तो मैं इनको करके ही दिखाऊंगी. I'll outperform to make sure I have the attention. That attention seeking leads you to a positive way. But I think 10 में से 2 people will take it like that. All right, can we go to the next slide? All right, so now the emotional and psychological attributions and coping strategies. So the very first thing that will take a toll is self-esteem. If we talk from psychological perspectives, then you can go into self-doubt. Then the prolonged sadness or prolonged self-doubt might lead to stress, anxiety, and depression as well. So these are some psychological attributes, and there have been many researchers revolving around psychological attributes as well. I have mentioned few names here. You can always do literature review if you are interested in the topic. Can we move to the next slide? All right. So here we have a few things listed again, which you can give it a read if you are interested. Next slide. All right, so this is a model which will talk about psychological impacts of ostracism. So you can see workplace ostracism going to internal attributes and external attribution. Okay. Then upper we have perceived harming intent. So I'll briefly tell you. So let's say you are being ostracized. So you will perceive it in either of the two ways. One is internal, second is external. So when you perceive ostracism as internal, you will have self-doubt. You will question yourself for such treatment. क्या मैं इतनी बुरी हूँ कि मेरे साथ ऐसा हो रहा है? शायद I don't deserve good treatment. Maybe I'm not good enough. That is why people are not talking to me. So this is internal hit that you're taking. Second can be external attribution, wherein you divert the aspect to others externally. Blame देते हो आप खुद को blame नहीं करते. मेरी टीम के लोग ऐसे हैं. They don't have any good, manners, and they are like this, they are like that. My TL is bad, my company is bad. I want to go in other team. So यहाँ पे आप external blame में जा रहे हो. But still दोनों में आपका effect हो रहा है. दोनों में आपकी productivity effect होगी. But what is more dangerous here? The internal attribution. When talking psychologically, because you're taking a toll on your self-esteem, and then plus you might also have other psychological strains like stress, or if you are being ostracized for your appearance, you might have body image issues. If you are being ostracized for your language, you might have some lack of confidence or self-efficacy issues. Or if you're being ostracized for the way you work, your working style, you might doubt your self-efficacy, your capabilities of doing something, which is not a good thing. Because see, if you're hired, you also have same degrees, you also have same intent and experience. But if you're being ostracized for the way you work, you might start feeling low about yourself if you're taking this as an internal intent. Whereas external can also be very harming. I'm not saying external is not that harming, but यहाँ पे आप intrinsically hurt नहीं हो रहे हो. You're not taking pain within. You're still blaming others for that. But both ways toxic तो होगा culture. But this depends on personality to personality, how you take the ostracism. Understood the psychological attributes? You can take it either as an internal attribution or as an external attribution. Can we go to next slide? Okay, so now how to deal with it. So the first thing you can do is examine the situation. So when I say examine the situation, it is not overthink about it. It is basically what can you do about it. उस बारे में आप सोचो. So let's say if somebody is bullying me, what can I do about it? I'll have to contemplate on that rather than just sitting and thinking कि मेरे साथ ही ऐसा क्यों होता है. What can you do के लिए you will start getting answers. So you will see कि okay, this is an option, this is an option. If you still don't see any option, then what we can do, ये भी I have listed further. So first is examine the situation. ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? कब से start हुआ है? Is there something that triggered the ostracism? क्या आपने कुछ ऐसा बोला था जिसकी वजह से आपको ऐसा ट्रीट किया जा रहा है? So examine the situation. Okay, don't directly blame yourself or others. Next slide. Okay. Next is look after yourself. So see, you will be a victim of ostracism in one way or other. You cannot guarantee that आप ना कभी ऐसा करोगे ना आपके साथ ऐसा होगा. Because I told you there is a very thin line, right? So you always should look at yourself and you should, not let it affect your mental health. कैसे? By addressing it, by accepting it कि ऐसा मेरे साथ हो रहा है. जो first step है interlinked to this. Examine the situation and take an action. Look at yourself and do self-evaluation. Don't self-doubt. कोई अगर आपको बोल रहा है कि you're not good enough, don't believe randomly that you're not good enough. Look at yourself, your achievements. You have come this far, मतलब कुछ तो होगा. Randomly, you don't get a job and be a part of teams, right? So look at yourself and then decide for yourself. Don't randomly believe what people say. Okay. Next would be keep a record of the behavior. So in order to take it forward or complain about it and get it resolved, you will need proof, right? If you go to your HR department or team leader stating that the teammates bully me, you need record of behavior, right? When did they bully you? When did this start happening? So keep a record. If you feel that मेरे साथ कुछ गलत हो रहा है, अगर आप immediately उसे नहीं confront कर रहे हो, तो at least keep a record कि आपके साथ ये कब कब हुआ है. And try to draw a pattern. हो सकता है कि similar situations में ही ऐसा हो रहा है आपके साथ. Not every time. Okay, so keep a track, keep a record of the behavior. Or if you're doing it also, अगर आप ostracizer हो in any way, and you accept that you have been an ostracizer intentionally or unintentionally, keep a record and try to draw a pattern of your behavior. कि आप ऐसा किन situations में करते हो. Okay, next slide. Now, speak to someone you trust outside of the office. Yes, they do that. So this is again one more thing which is when I talked about, disguising ostracism into many things, leaders do that. They ostracize you in the virtue of, maybe, let's say, target completion, or they would say that how else would I treat my team if they are not completing their targets. So वो productivity से link करके आपको जी भर के ostracize करेंगे. And they might feel you excluded just because you have not completed target for one day. So again, leadership is very important here. All right. So now, very true. Commonly, they were not here for charity. Yeah. Okay. So next is, I was saying, talk to someone outside of the office that you trust. So see, in our country, having a therapist, having a counselor, having a psychologist is not that relevant or common. But I would suggest you should have a counselor if you are going through discrimination, ostracism, or something like that. But if you still feel that you don't need professional help, you can always, or you should always talk to somebody outside office about how you're feeling. You have to have that confidence that you're being heard. You don't have to suppress. So if I'm being bullied at work, I would come home and tell my mom maybe, or I would come home and tell my brother or my sister. Why is because I would want them to know. Or let's say tell somebody completely different, like जो आपका ना friend तो होगा but घर वालों को भी मत बताओ, colleagues को भी मत बताओ. Go to your friend and tell them. Then ask them for their point of view. Do you really feel that I am like that? So somebody once called me rude. Okay. And that person used to repeatedly call me rude. The very same person. So what I did was I didn't believe that I'm rude at the first place. I talked to 3, 4 people about it and asked them, am I actually rude? So eventually what I realized that I was not rude with everyone, but with that person I actually was rude. I didn't get ostracized immediately without self-evaluating myself. And then I understood that, okay, I am ostracizing them. They are not ostracizing me. I am being rude to only one person and not to everyone. So I am at fault here, right? तो आप victim हो कि आप actor हो, you have to understand. So उसके लिए you need to speak to people outside office about the feelings, the negative feelings. Not everything about office, but if you feel that you're being ostracized or you feel that you are ostracizing someone, talk it out, speak up, don't suppress. Okay. Next would be speak to human resources. So this is again a cycle. Many people would feel that they are also part of the ostracizing group, the human resources, because they're part of organization. So if you go to your HR, sometimes what happens is they will ask you to explain something to them. Confidential, you can definitely go and talk to them. Many companies have employee relations and employee engagement teams separately who take care of employee relations and all. You can talk to them. And many companies have psychologists, or they don't have IO psychologists, but they do have psychologists. So basically, this is part of IO psychologists, job of IO psychologists. But since we don't have the culture of employing IO psychologists at workplaces, you might have to talk to human resources. I'm not sure how much will they understand, but don't just quit your job without addressing the concerns to human resources department. That is what I mean by you can reach out to them. So these are some things that you can do as a victim of ostracism. Can we go to next slide? All right, so here are case studies. I'll just read this one. Second one you can read for yourself. So can you read it for me, Kirtana? I cannot see it properly. Like, this is practical case of ostracism, and you can see how this person was feeling. Ek to she linked it with age. It might not be the case, but she linked it because the other two were in mid 30s. And then if you observe, she just called her boss a ringleader. What is a ringleader? The person in zoo, that not zoo, in circus, who controls everyone. So leader ke liye also she is having negative picture. Then the two members are also, she feels that them and me. So this is ostracism. So do you think she sustained for a long time in that setting? No, right? So this is what happens, and this is how a person feels if you ostracize them. Okay, can we go to next? So yeah, this is a little long. If you want to read, Ketan, you can just, or should I read it?
Yeah, I can read it.
Okay.
So I'm a 54-year-old, and I'm beginning to think that ostracism is age-related. I have just left one workplace after only a year of unbearable treatment, where I was often completely ignored in the workplace. Sometimes for a full 10-hour shift, whilst younger female and older married men spend the entire shift flirting with one another. I was frequently sent to sit in another area on my own with some excuse or another, generally COVID. I have just started a new job, and the same thing seems to be happening. A younger woman was left in charge of organizing the Christmas party. She had invited everybody but me. First, I thought it might be because I am new, but today I realize people who started after me have been invited. I spent the best part of today being forced to listen to them all talk about Christmas night out, whilst being ignored completely. I generally get on well with people at work, so this treatment is alien to me. I am friendly but quiet. I am also very strong internally, so I feel I just have to suck it up. However, it is really hurtful.
So here again, so she also is in 50s, but this person did not take it on age. So what was happening there was quite internal. She felt because she was aged, she was being treated that way. But here she did not blame directly कि मेरी age की वजह से मुझे ऐसा हो रहा है. उसने internally blame नहीं किया, ना ही external किया. So I think this person is still figuring out the psychological attribute. But she is drawing a pattern, right? पहले भी हुआ था, next workplace में भी हुआ था. So what she thinks is I just have to suck it in and just deal with it. But that is not the right thing. Here she needs to take it up to the leader. So this is how real life ostracism verbatims look like. And if you are into IO psychology and if you work closely with the corporate audience, you will get to hear a lot about ostracism. They don't know that it is ostracism, but yes, they do. And the only way to channelize a positive workplace culture is don't just focus on inclusion, focus on eliminating exclusion. आप इंक्लूजन कितना भी ड्राइव कर लो, आपको लगता है कि डाइवर्सिटी प्रमोट करने से आप इंक्लूजन को प्रमोट कर रहे हो, ऐसा नहीं होता. दे आर वेरी डिफरेंट थिंग्स. अगर आप डाइवर्सिटी को प्रमोट कर रहे हो, तो यू हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट people who work already for you are not ostracizers and they are not people who exclude you. So hand in hand, you have to always consider exclusion when talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I hope I linked ostracism with DEI and inclusion well in the webinar. If not, if you need more discussions on the same, you can always reach out to me. So now if you want to share any of your experiences of ostracism, anybody can do that.
Shall I?
Yes, go ahead.
Sirisha?
Yes.
First of all, what to say? I'm really impressed by the way you have presented and the topic that you have taken. More or less, you have taken up a topic which is very close to corporate world, right? I being a teacher, I would certainly like to have one such session for our teachers, for teachers of my school, and for even children. So I would like to reach to you in that way that if it is possible to have an online session, because it is very important for the leaders and the entire your entire analysis, leaders play a vital role. Any culture continues or culture discontinues, any practice continues or discontinues, or is stopped or encouraged, everything depends on the leader. So leadership plays an important role. Leader may not be directly involved in counseling, but has to have a great role as a counselor also. So how to reach, how to contact you in this regard, that because you'll have to modify it a bit, because whatever instances you have talked about, more or less it is very it's connecting more to the corporate world. Like what
Yes.
we have, if you see in a educational sector, we have students as one group, teachers as one group, leadership as one, administration as one. So there your work increases if you go for the presentation, because you'll have to modify accordingly. But it is very relevant in today's world. And you won't believe, Sirisha, while having very, I'll say very small, like at a very small case, like group activities we give in school, right? After attending this session, only I realized that yes, ostracism do exist even amongst children. And I've recently handled one case where one group of five students, two were completely eliminated, and three were doing their project and they submitted the project. And two did not even know what the project is. But my condition was that the presentation has to be by all the five, not the group leader. So finally, I had to counsel all five of them separately and together, and they realized what the problem was. In fact, maybe that was a kind of ostracism to those who were
Definitely.
left out, right? So such things might be happening in school, and teachers are not paying that much attention to it. So, and it it brings a kind of very negative work culture. It invites a lot of negative thoughts towards each other, and which is not good, which is not at all uh, a good sign of any growing institution or an established institution. So, my humble request to you to leave your contact details so that I can get in touch with you. And I would certainly like to have very meaningful. It is the topic. I'm happy that I got this link and I could join this session. Otherwise, I would have missed it. So, Sirisha, it's congratulations. You really impressed all the participants here. I think all my friends would agree on that. And please share your email ID or your contact details so that I can get in touch with you. Thank you, dear.
Sure,
Thank
sure,
you
sure.
so much.
I'll drop in my email and thanks for sharing your insights. And also, like being an educational setup, I think it is important because you're creating future corporate employees in there. And if they practice ostracism, they will do the same in their workplace
Correct,
as well in future. So
correct.
it's very
That is
important.
the
Hmm,
that is the base for them. Like
ex-
these days, how many of them are going to be teachers? Out
exactly.
of 100, one or two, right? But the
Right.
thing is that most of them are going into corporate world, and if they
Exactly.
are not exposed to all these things at the school level, they will never realize it that it is happening.
True, true. So I've dropped in my email. You can get in touch with me regarding anything
Sure,
that you want.
sure, sure.
Yes, somebody raise hand.
Hi, Shrisha. My name is Dinesh.
Hi, Dinesh.
Yeah, hi. So, first of all, like Rakhi said, thank you very much. So, this is one of the best sessions I have attended. Let me, upfront, and I must appreciate you and IIBS for, organizing such sessions. I generally attend most of the sessions, and this is one of the best sessions I've attended. Let me tell you,
Absolutely true.
yeah.
Absolutely true.
And post pandemic, not post pandemic, during the pandemic also we had attended so many sessions, but this is one of the best sessions I've attended. Now, my what I want to share is that, though from, I'm not saying that, we don't, I have not practiced maybe ostracism in my work. We have seen that, in our work, the setup, what happens is that we may like some of the people, not in the sense liking, but what happens is that we may give work to the people who come up front and say that they want to work. And some of the people, whenever you ask them to do anything, they most of the time they'll back out, just on the pretext of whether they don't have experience or they don't know. So what happens is that we it is the general perception with people is that the boss doesn't give, maybe boss has preferences and he likes some of the people, but it is generally it is not intentional in the where it is boss and the subordinate relation, because it is most of the time it is based on the maybe the people who come off up front for the work also. The other is yes, we and now the same age which you've shared in the examples, maybe late 40s, uh, we have started feeling that now, that there is, because and this is not only from, and in this age this is not only from the maybe the level above, this is also from the level below also,
Yes.
because maybe we are at a stage where the generation gap is with too much, with the baby boomers now working with the Gen Z and maybe
Yeah.
the Gen X. So that age gap is too much, and it, in I sense that that this ostracism looks too much visible now,
True.
because earlier we used to have maybe the same age people working together, but now because there are so many generations now working together,
Together.
and
Right.
everybody has their own likings and dislikings and the way of working.
Exactly.
uh,
So that is what I was talking about when I said कि जितना आप diversity रख रहे हो, like if you're being diverse with age, different age group के people, you should also know how to actually channelize the diversity and not just have a diversity. You should always have ways to treat them with equity as well. So it
yes.
is very
So
important thing to address in organizational setups as well. The age thing, which is a very major diversity constraint these days.
and what I feel is that apart from maybe training people down the line may not help, because most of the issues come from the leadership level,
Exactly.
because the way leader exhibit those behaviors in
Right.
the corporate setup, those are
Exactly.
the actually the problem creator. Maybe leaders don't realize that, but with quiet quitting coming into picture, where people are just giving only working on the limited,
Limited.
maybe
Exactly.
limited is and that is maybe the reason, that is what I feel, being an HR professional, I feel this is the main reason why people are just this concept, or maybe the trend which we are seeing these days,
Quite
the
fitting.
quiet quitting trend, is
Right.
because of that only.
True, true. And
Because
also, like, if I get an opportunity later on sometime, I would like to discuss quiet firing, which is contrast to quiet quitting. So, because of time constraints, we might not do it now, but thank you for bringing this up, Dinesh. Quiet
and
firing is something that is more important than quiet quitting that people don't understand. So, we
no,
might,
and how, what, and the where the organization is going wrong in this area is that in to tackle the quiet quitting, people are now have started quiet hiring. Okay,
yes,
so people are recruiting not for the role, people are just recruiting saying that okay, we will see how the where this person will maybe fitted later on. Now what is
exactly,
it is again aggravating the situation, because
exactly.
you don't hire people with the fixed role, and this has happened in, we see a lot of issues these days in the role people are handling.
True, true,
With
absolutely.
and especially with maybe Gen X and Gen Z, people are not you to take this lightly.
True,
So
true.
this is again aggravating. So this is a vicious cycle. Whatever we are trying to solve, we again creating a problem. That we want to create a diverse the culture. It is creating this obsessivism. Now
Uh,
this is a problem actually.
it is.
So these are my thoughts. Thank you very much for this session once again, Sirisha
You're
and
welcome.
GIF. Thank you very much.
Perfect,
Thank you.
perfect. Thank you. Yes, Kirtana, can we conclude?
Yeah, I think I think we've cleared a lot of questions. If anybody has more questions, can they reach out to you by your email? If that's
Yes, yes,
yeah,
I've dropped in the email.
yeah,
Anything that
perfect,
you want to discuss can be addressed by email.
perfect.
I'll be answering them without.
Yeah. So again, thank you everybody for attending the session, and thank you so much, Miss Sirisha. I think you gave an extremely insightful session, and all of us learned a lot from it. And I think it
Thank you.
also gave us a lot of questions to ponder upon and think about. So yeah, again,
It's
thank you.
always good to leave people with questions.
Yeah.
I like to leave people with so many questions.
Hmm.
That is when I get satisfaction out of a webinar. Okay,
Yeah.
I've left people in question.
Yeah.
A
All
very good
right.
teacher.
Yeah.
A very good teacher in making.
Thank you. Thank you. So you all
Good,
can
good.
always reach out to me. I'll
Yes,
be
yes,
happy
sure,
to
sure,
have
sure.
discussion.
But
Perfect.
you will have to modify the thing according to the group.
Sure,
One will
sure.
be for
However that
leadership,
works.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We
yeah.
will
We'll
discuss this
discuss.
over
We'll
it and
discuss. Okay,
perfect,
fine.
perfect. Thank
Thank
you,
you. Thank you
everyone.
so much.
Bye.
Everyone, thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.